I'm not a big fan of origin stories. But this episode really captures an origin story without really doing an origin story. Have I said origin story enough? Robin's Reckoning, part 1 and 2. We're talking about it right now. Hello, friends. Welcome back to the show. And if you're new here, so glad to see you. I'm glad that you gave us a chance because this is the show where we talk about all things Batman, the animated series. If you're like me and grew up on this show and became a huge Batman fan today, then this show is for you. And today we're talking about the two-parter Robin's Reckoning, part 1 and 2, which originally aired on February 7th and 14th of 1993.
If I knew it was going to take this long, I would have brought my homework.
So yes, if you know anything about me, you know that I'm not a big fan of origin stories. It seems sometimes that they're a necessary evil, that we've got to catch people up that don't know where these characters came from, and especially in the world of superheroes. It seems like every time that we do a new Spider-Man movie, we've got to tell the origin story of where he came from. And even Batman falls victim to this most of the time, that we've got to show Batman's parents getting killed in every single iteration of the show. But this episode does it right. They show the origin of Robin, but in a new way. And it doesn't feel so much as we're getting a history lesson as much as we are learning a new layer to Robin and Dick Grayson's character. And I'll explain what I mean by that right after we get into the 60-second Joker Bomb rundown of the episode. A two-parter, so let's see how we do. Batman and Robin are on a stakeout watching this building, and they start seeing the mob activity that they were looking for. They swoop in, take action, they beat up all the guys, and they have one man that they are interrogating to get information from. He finally cracks and tells them that he's working for Billy Marin. When Batman hears this, he sends Robin back to get the Batmobiles, tries to get more information out of this guy, and then he takes Robin back to the Batcave and drops him off and says, I'm going to go on this mission alone. He leaves. Robin is talking to him with Alfred. Why has he left me here? Robin starts doing a little bit of his research, finds out that an alias for Billy Marin is Tony Zucco. Tony Zucco is now, we've learned through a series of flashbacks when Dick Grayson was a little boy in the circus with the Flying Graysons, that Tony Zucco was collecting collection money, protection money from the circus, and when they don't pay, he then cuts some of the ropes to the trapeze, and that ends up killing Dick Grayson's parents. Now, Dick Grayson lives with Bruce Wayne, and Bruce Wayne is never there, and it turns out that he's out as Batman trying to find Tony Zucco. And Robin gets angry and says, well, I'll find him on my own. And so he goes off on a motorcycle in part 1. Part 2 kicks up when he is trying to find where Batman is to get Tony Zucco himself. And then we go to a flashback and see that when Robin was a little boy, as Dick Grayson, he also did the same thing and went out to find Tony Zucco himself. And when he ends up then once they find him, then Batman explains that he gets really angry and he's trying to fight him himself, and Batman says it's okay. I knew that this would happen, and there's another piece to that, and the sun rises. We've had a long night, and that was the end of the episode. I really started losing myself there.
I ain't saying nothing till I see my lawyer.
I will start by saying that I've never really been a big fan of Robin.
So that's it. No apologies, no explanation, just see you later, kid.
I know that a lot of the intention behind Robin is to give a child's perspective to see Batman through and to make it more relatable for kids. But even as a kid, I never connected with Robin per se. I always wanted to be Batman. Also, a lot of my early introductions to Robin was the old 1960s Batman show.
Holy rats in a trap!
And the Super Friends Robin, the Casey Kasem one, which wasn't far off from that character.
Wow, just in time!
So I never really connected with Robin. He always seemed kind of, childish, I guess.
Shuts me out, man. Treats me like a kid.
I like what they do with Robin in Batman the Animated Series, that he's a little bit older, he's a little bit more of an equal of Batman, and he's not as much of a kid. He still is responsible for a lot of the joke lines and makes the episodes that he's in a little bit more lighthearted.
Uh-huh. You still think they'll show?
Uh-huh.
Lucky for me, you're such a good conversationalist.
But I appreciate that what they did was they kind of treated him on the level with Batman. So having said that, a lot of the episodes that focused on Robin, I found as a kid, I didn't really enjoy as much. And I think that this was one of those episodes. Now, as an adult watching it back, I certainly enjoyed it a lot more from my perspective now, which seems strange because as a kid, I should have connected with the character in this episode more than I do as an adult. But I appreciate the story in that.
But this guy's ready to sing.
Let it go. The police can take it from here. Go get the Batmobile.
What?
Now!
It very much feels like that the showrunners of Batman got the orders from the offices above that said, we need to do an origin story of Robin. And they took that as a challenge to not just throw the episode away and go, let's go back and tell the story of where he came from. But one, it falls later in the series. So we've already seen Robin. We've already established him as a character. Now we're going back and telling the story of a little bit more of where he came from. Yeah, it has a little bit of a flashback episode to it or a clip show, but they have this solid story of them trying to find Tony Zucco and Batman not wanting Robin to be involved and going off on his own to stop this.
You know the rules. There are times when I can't explain
My actions even to you. Hey, that line worked great in 6th grade, but in case you hadn't noticed.
We'll discuss this later.
And then they show these flashbacks, but the focus of the flashbacks is Tony Zucco.
You're gonna be calling Tony Zucco and soon. Out of my way, punk.
They don't go through the whole, then Dick Grayson was trained to be Batman's partner and all that kind of stuff. It is very much focuses on the Tony Zucco element, which ties it to the story that's going on current day.
Tony Zucco. Oh my word. Finally.
Part of his origin is his parents get killed. So how do you show that on a kid's show? Couldn't very well take that out. They had to show that, and how do you show that? And I thought it was done beautifully. They don't just mention it. They don't just refer to it. They show it, but in a very classy, artistic way. And I think that is that could be studied in film school, the way that those shots are compiled to get the idea across, but not pound it in your face, not show a gruesome, bloody mess at the bottom of the floor, but get that across. It's a very powerful moment in the show.
Look, Dick, it's not going to be easy. You have to take it a day at a time. But for however long it takes, you have a home with us.
While we're talking about the flashbacks, a couple other things that they do really well in this. One is Batman's costume that he's wearing during the flashbacks is the old Batman costume from the early days in the comic books. It's black and gray with the all black Batman emblem on his chest. There's no yellow. And so I thought that was just a nice little nod to the old history of Batman that they throw into the episode.
Where are we going?
Home.
The other thing that I like in the flashbacks is they bring back Stromwell. Stromwell from It's Never Too Late, who was the old mob boss in town that is now the kind of the transition of power. Well, in the flashbacks, he was in power.
Easy, Stromwell.
You might try knocking sometime.
And I talk about that in the episode with It's Never Too Late, that he is referenced again in Robin's Reckoning. So there we have this character that is on his way out, but now we're going back to that time period again, 9 years ago or whatever it is, to show Stromwell still as part of that. And he's tied into it because he is the uncle of Tony Zucco.
I've come for your nephew, Tony Zucco.
Another little off-topic moment in this episode is when Robin goes to the computer and he's looking up this Billy Marin, and they list this whole list of aliases. One of them is
Sid the Squid?
he stole Sid the Squid's name.
But who is he really?
Most of the second episode is them finding Zucco and capturing him in that last battle.
You're through, Zucco. Forever.
First episode, they cram a lot into with a lot of the flashbacks. In the second episode, the pacing felt a little slow. And I wonder if this could have been done in one episode. I think there's still a lot in there. And I don't know if they could have got both of the dual stories, the present day and the flashbacks in there. So I don't want to say that it should have only been a one-parter. Is that how you say it? One-parter or a single episode? But I would have liked to see maybe another layer to the story so that there was just a little bit more to happen in the second part. And I think the best moment of both parts is at the end when Robin finally gets a hold of Tony Zucco and he's ready to kill him, and he just grabs him on the motorcycle and takes off towards the dock, and he's ready to kill him, and Batman has broke his leg now and is hobbling over there and is trying to get him to stop him. And Robin says,
"You were right, not bringing me along. You knew I'd take it too personally."
Batman's response is such a great piece of writing.
It wasn't that, Robin. It wasn't that at all. Zuko's taken so much, caused you so much pain. I couldn't stand the thought that he might take you, too.
Wow. It's great. It's a great piece of writing because it sets at ease Robin's anger towards Batman for not letting him go with him, and explains it in such a way that he was doing it through love. He was doing it because he cared so much about the relationship that Robin and Batman have, or Dick Grayson and Bruce Wayne have. And it wasn't just the passing idea that, oh, I don't want you to get hurt, or I don't want you to accidentally kill him or anything like that. But it was all about the relationship that Bruce Wayne has with Dick Grayson. So I think that was a great choice. And honestly, that moment in the episode is the best of the show.
Come on, partner. It's been a long night.
So when it comes time to rank this episode, it is a great episode. I know that this is an episode that is a huge favorite for a lot of people, and I really like it, and I really enjoy it. But as I was going through the list, I found that it did fall into the top 10 for me so far, but I ended up placing it right at the number 10 slot, right below What's Reality. When I look at what I populate the top 10 with, is a lot more of the extravagant episodes, like What's Reality deals with virtual reality, or Perchance to Dream, or His Silicon Soul. A lot of those kind of outlandish episodes, if you will, and just more of the fantasy element incorporated into them. This is a great episode. It's very solid. There's very little negative to that. The pacing of the second episode is really about the biggest negative that I can come up with it. But it's just not strong enough to beat out some of those episodes that are populating my top 10 list. So far, we'll see how it continues on with the rest of the series.
You don't know the Bat. He don't let up. He's a dark angel of death, man, and he wants me.
So let me know, where does this episode rank for you? Is this your favorite episode? Is it kind of line up in your top 10 list, more or less where mine is? Or is it higher on the list? Where would you place this in your favorite episodes of Batman the Animated Series? Let me know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this episode, please click the thumbs up button. I would really appreciate that. And if you enjoyed these episodes that you're seeing, just hit the subscribe button. That way you'd see all the episodes as they come out. Because I have another episode locked and ready to come right at you on tomorrow, February 8th, with Birds of a Feather. As always, thank you so much for watching. I'm Andy Knode, and I'll see you soon.